Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Hashem natan haTorah. Amen. Blessed are you, Lord God, King of the universe, who gives the Torah of truth and the good news of salvation to his people Israel and to all the peoples through his son Yeshua the Messiah our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Alright, I want you guys first, before we jump into the Old Testament, I want you to go to the New Testament. Go to Matthew 5. Okay? Ooh. This portion that we went through, that you guys are all very versed up and studied up Mishpatim, is a very hard, it's a very hard study if you don't know the heart of God. So what I thought was, let's go back to what God was doing at Mount Sinai and we lay the foundation. Okay? But before we get to Matthew 5, there's a little thing I want to discuss with you guys that we have discussed regarding Elul. Okay? You are in the time of reflection. You are in the time of spring cleaning yourself. Making sure that you are alright with man, with people around you. Okay? And, well, let's do a pop quiz. There's a verse in Matthew chapter 6. Chapter 6 that sort of gives the message, the heart of it. Can any of you tell me what it is? What about forgiveness lies there in Matthew chapter 6?
It says about offering.
Okay.
It's just about offering. If you're taking an offering up and you've got something against your friend, use the offering and go fix it up.
Okay. Go ahead.
A prayer.
No, in 14 it says, yeah, forgive others their trespasses, because it's in the prayer.
Yeah.
As we forgive those who trespass against us, and we forgive them.
Okay, so forgiveness is dealt on what we forgive.
But also the verse before that, it says if you do not forgive the people who honor us.
Yep.
15. If you do not forgive men their trespasses, neither shall your Father forgive your trespasses.
In my Bible it's 14, in other ones it's probably 15.
But if you don't forgive other people, so how can God forgive you?
Exactly. For if you forgive others their offenses, your Heavenly Father will also forgive you. Will also forgive you. This is not a maybe. But you kind of have to forgive so that you can be forgiven. Uncle Bill said something in one of his posts going through a completely different portion. I mean, he's following the parasha that's going on at the moment. I mean, we're doing the portions, but we've kind of started very late. Right? Remember, it's a one-year cycle, so they start around this time, so they're coming to the end of Deuteronomy. And he said something that was told to him was, you know what, you want judgment for everybody else, but you want mercy for yourself. Think about it. When we do something wrong, oh, sorry, Lord, please don't smack me. I'm really sorry. I won't do it again. And someone else does exactly the same thing, and you're like, that's it. Now you're going to get it. Wiki, it's on. Where's the big stick? Think about that. We cry out to God when we know we've mucked up. And we humbly ask Him for forgiveness. Put yourself in their shoes for a minute. Elul is not an easy time. For many of you, this is your first Elul. And I'm telling you now, it doesn't get easier. What does get easier is less fighting from your side. Because what happens is you go, I don't want to say no. I don't want to say sorry to that person. I don't care. He's a schmook. I don't want to talk to that person. No, 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 no. And then the more God's like, boop, boop. Just let me tell you from experience, He doesn't let it go. He does not let it go. He wants you to be the true reflection of Him. So forgive. Yeshua did not go to the Pharisees and the Sadducees and sat with them at the Sanhedrin table and He goes, these are my people. You know, yeah, we studied Torah. He went to tax collectors, sinners. He spoke to adulterers. How are you going to reach a group of people that are lost, that are confused? And let's face it, He said some very nice things to the Sadducees and Pharisees at times. What are you doing, you schmooks? You're supposed to be teaching the people, but yet you can't even teach yourself. Open up your ears and listen. But remember, even though it seemed very hard, he was very loving in his approach. You are going to destroy yourself and you're going to destroy these people who don't know better. What are you doing? When someone came to you and they said, you know what, I'm really sorry. Think about those moments when all of that tension between the two of you just dissipated. All of that baggage that you were carrying around, going, I don't really want to talk to that person. Every time I talk to them, you carry around a sack of 50 kilograms on your back, because every time I mention that person's name, you get grumpy. And there's a knot in your stomach, and you're just like, I really don't like that person. You know that's holding you back more than anything else? That is stopping your progress. That is stopping your relationship with God. This is 29 days where you can just let it go. It is not up to you to seek retribution. That's God's problem. That's His kid. Abba, I don't understand your child. He's acting really, really silly. Help him. But forgive so that God can. You're holding him in place. It's all your fault. It's all your fault. It's all your fault. You're keeping yourself there with him. For what? You will never move away from Egypt. That bondage will keep you locked down because you are refusing to let go. And I'm not saying everything everybody does is right. What I'm saying is the way you handle it. You have to be the bigger person here. You are held to a higher standard. You understand more. You understand unforgiveness. You understand hurt. You understand wrongdoing. But you also understand that you've done all of those things to God and He has forgiven you. So who are you to hold them accountable? Let God hold them accountable. And pray enough that they get slapped out of their funk, because but by the grace of God, I would still be doing what I was doing 7, 8, 9 years ago. He forgave me. How can I not forgive people who have done the same thing? What you need to realize is in one way, shape or form or another, and this is very important, because when God starts bringing people in your life and He wants you to teach them, and they go through wobbles and they come with their baggage and they come with their past and they come with all of that, amen, you will be able to stop and look back and go, that was me 3 years ago. I acted exactly that same way. When things didn't go my way, I threw my tantrum. I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. No, it's not going to happen. No, it's finished. Book. And after holding on and hurting your fingers, holding on and hurting your hand, and going, oh, okay, I'll go do it. And then you do it and you're like, I'm not really happy I do it, but it feels kind of nice. I don't have to carry that block around anymore. Oh, okay, everything's better now. Even in the case where someone does something wrong, and they are wrong, and you react, you don't have to go and just say, you know what, I forgive you, it's part of it. But you also have to go and say, you know what, the way I reacted to you, I said that there was no love behind that. I still believe maybe what I said was correct, but the way I said it, there's no love there. For that I apologize. And I promise you, it is probably going to be the toughest 29 days of your life, because you have to swallow your pride. And you realize through this process that you're not perfect. Think about everything you've done wrong and how God has wiped your slate clean. So go to these people and go, like God who forgave me, I am forgiving you. I'm not holding you accountable to the simple, silly things that you've done wrong. I love you. Let's move forward. Any questions about Elul? So, all right. This has to be put into place. Tammy, you want to say something?
Yeah. When office went back to God for my spiritual journey. I knew nothing in the world worked, so I went back to God. And that was the first thing that God dealt with in me as well. Was just a friend of mine, Brian, he actually just said, after Bible study, he just said, I just feel like we need to just pray. He said, God's just telling me there's people in your life who need to forgive. And I'm a very forgiving type person. And I didn't think there was anyone that I needed to forgive. But obviously there were people that had hurt me that I didn't, even though, I felt like I had forgiven them, but actually I still needed to go through that process. So you might feel you're a very forgiving person. There's no one, because that's just your nature. But just ask God to help you, because there might be some hurts that is maybe holding you in bondage. So yeah, that was really beautiful. And it was amazing because this is very spiritual, but my eyes were open what was happening in the spirit world. And when I said I forgive, I didn't even finish saying the word forgive. And Yeshua appeared, and he actually took what was like whips. I can describe them as black whips that were all around my body. And he went like this, and he was very serious guy, and he pulled it off me like this. And I immediately felt light in my spirit, and in my physical form as well. And then he left. So it was just so strange, and then he showed me in the world as well, like, who were people that hurt me. And I really thought I had forgiven me. But obviously the hurts had put me into bondage. So like, I'm always reminded of that, and I thought I never want to be back into bondage again, because I think it's the enemy. He wants to weigh you down and keep you, you don't know what's wrong, but then obviously there's some hurts in the life that God just comes and helps you deal with it. So that is very important. And I think even now in the month of Elul, I can see how the enemy is trying to cause more situations where there's people that are hurting me, and I'm like, God, how do I protect my heart here? I'm trying to reach out, like you say, to build a relationship with them, and I just feel like I'm getting hurt. It's like you don't want to be back in that. So like, I think it's very important to just remember that this is for our own benefit, and it's that He wants us to live free.
It's an opportunity to deal with things that you kind of shove underneath the carpet. And when I say fix up, guys, this is not the sorry and then carry on with my daily routine.
Aww.
This is, if I have offended Regan, I will phone Regan, I will SMS Regan, I will say, Regan, I think we need to go for coffee. And Regan will go, what does he want? Alright, we'll go see what the Schmoot wants for coffee. And we will sit down, and you will blow people away. God has laid it in my heart. It is the time of Elul, where we look at what we've done wrong. Remember, this is all preparation for Yom Kippur, hey? 30 days of Elul, give or take an hour, plus 10 days from Rosh Hashanah, or the Feast of Blowing of the Trumpets, will give you Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement. How can I go stand in front of God? How can I go stand before Him and ask Him to forgive me if I'm still holding on and not forgiving the guy who's sitting there asking God for the same thing? Fix up. You both come talk to me. This is why it's very difficult, because 30 plus 10 equals, what is it, 40 a number of? Trials and testing. Yes. Everybody gets really excited when we go through this process. But every test is to build you up, to make you better. And just like children, we will kick, we will scream, we will moan. And then later we will realize those are the foundation blocks of everything. What you learn now lays the foundation for your walk to come.
And it also help the person that you
ask
your forgiveness for, because it was another year, and God put it on my heart when we did a home cell thing also with one, and God just showed me that He wouldn't let me fall asleep that night. So He said, Kristen, let's go make out with her. And I had to get her on Facebook and apologize on a message because she was far away. And you know what, she said to me, thank you, because now I can go, oh sorry, look in my own backyard, you know, and you didn't even offend me, but I think it was more for me because I had been hurt. So like God wanted to deal with me, sort it out.
Yeah,
And she didn't even think I did anything wrong. And she's like, if I did anything to offend you, I'm so sorry. And then just sit in a go and see in my own heart.
it's a strange thing,
So it
eh?
releases you both.
Yeah, because sometimes you sit there and you know there's a big issue between the two of you and you're butting heads and that stuff. God also did something similar to me and I had to phone this guy and I'm like, dude, I said something and he goes, what did you say? Like, remember when I said this and this and this? No. I'm like, well, I'm sorry anyway. He's like, thanks. like, what was the point of that? Because I knew I didn't do it the right way. I said something.
I just want to point out something. If you do go, and the other person is unwilling, that's not your fault.
No.
You did your part.
We do
Now you
everything
can
we
prepare
can now.
before him.
It is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of Adonai. Okay? We do everything we possibly can and we apologize for what we can control. Yourself. You can control your actions, you can control your thoughts, you control your things. I'm not saying that everybody is going to be doing 100% right by you. We know that's not going to happen. But you can either become bitter about it and hold yourself back from a loving relationship with God, or you can forgive them and move on. They will still be in the same place you left them. You will not be. Alright, Matthew chapter 5. Okay, basically remember we were talking about the ketubah, we were talking about the 10 commandments, we were talking about that marriage covenant at Sinai. And I want to draw you to a beautiful section of imagery where we kind of miss. Matthew chapter 5, 6 and 7 is known as the Sermon on the Mount. Okay? So we have on one side, Sinai. God comes down on a mountain and He gives His instructions, His mitzvot, so that you would have a better life. So that you would live peaceably among yourselves. So that you would be my peculiar treasure, my beloved. You will be my people, I will be your God. And then God takes people up to a mountain. Forgive me if I spelled it wrong. I think it's right. Okay? Takes him up to another mountain. Okay? The mountain of the, we call it the Beatitudes because it comes from the term beautiful sayings. What we don't realize is that he's actually quoting what was going on here. But he's putting it back in a line. Okay? What Yeshua did was he gave the people the heart of Torah back and forgot about this legalistic mindset that they came from. Remember, okay, around 722 BC, Assyria comes down and they come and they take the northern 10 tribes, Israel, and they cart them off into La La Land. Then Babylon comes down and then they capture Judah and they take them off to captivity. What we don't understand is the Babylonians were the first legal minds of the age. So when they spent how many years in captivity in Babylon?
70.
70. Okay, why 70?
Because it was just the years that they didn't let them in.
Right. They didn't, for every sabbatical year they missed, God held them accountable and He locked them up and He says, now you'll give my land rest while you guys go and spend some time over there. Okay? So, He takes him and He locks him in over time, and then all of a sudden you're there for 70 years. Your thinking starts to change. You become less Hebrew and you become more Babylonian. Okay? So what this means is all of a sudden we look at a mitzvah, an instruction. You will not work on Shabbat. And Yeshua walks in and he goes, hey, funny man with the withered hand. And the rabbi freaks out. He's like, hey, what are you doing? You're crazy. You're healing on Shabbat. That's work. And he's like, isn't it good to do good on Shabbat? Isn't it good to do good on God's day? In a place where we are meeting to study God's words, where I'm restoring a man because he had a withered hand, he was never allowed to go into the temple, according to rabbinic interpretation. He was disfigured. So he will not enter into God's presence. This man, who was healed in a synagogue, in front of God's Torah, with the rabbi, with the community, and now restored so he can go and praise in God's temple. How does that work? No, but you can heal tomorrow. Have you missed the point? Do we understand the legalistic mindset? This is where we get stuck, I believe, as Christians. We get stuck in this thing where the Old Testament is all legalism. You know what the definition of legalism is?
Strict observance of the law.
Man-made rulings. God made, man made. I follow God's. That is not legalism. Following the traditions of man and placing them higher than God's, then you're being legalistic. The Pharisees and the Sadducees had a problem with this.
Is it also not with the correct heart? So in other words, if I follow after Torah, but I have the incorrect heart, in other words, I don't do it out of love toward God, it's legalism as well in the same sense.
In a sense, but it, it just robs you of a relationship with Him. Because you're doing it just to do it.
I think what Mark is pointing out is the same example that you used. The guy said, don't heal on the Sabbath, it's work. And it's exactly what the Torah says, but his heart is on the wrong place.
But then he would be contradicting.
Yes.
Okay? Yeshua never contradicted.
Yes. No, I know, but that's not what...
Yeah, that's...
Also when you said if some part of your body is useless, chop it off and throw it away so you can move on and do that.
And Yeshua did say, therefore it is lawful to do well on the Sabbath day. Lawful, so it is according to the law.
It's absolutely according to Torah. Okay, the thing is, guys, if you get hung up on all the different nitty-gritty things, well, and again, it's an easy ruling to understand. I understand the heart of the Jewish people. I love them dearly, but they follow too much rabbinic interpretation and they forget what God said. Okay? They want to build a fence around stuff so that you never come close to breaking the instruction. It's a beautiful way of looking at it. The problem is when we have 7,000 fences and you never understood what the mitzvah was, you end up worrying more about the fence than God's instruction. Okay? If you walk a Sabbath day journey, this was in Yeshua's time as well, if you take so many steps, you're allowed to walk maybe I don't know the exact measurement, it's like 1.6 miles or something like that, or 800 meters. Or, it's something, but it's exact. If you walk 810 meters, you've broken the instruction. It's not just about the exact amount of steps. It's about a holy convocation. If you're so worrying about the number of steps you take and you've forgotten about God because you're counting steps, you've missed the point.
But doing that is also sin according to Deuteronomy 4 verse 2. You cannot add onto the word.
Remember, they're not saying it's the same. Well, the problem is they've elevated it up, that they've forgotten Torah and they've studied more fences. Okay? I believe their hearts are right, but the thing is they've forgotten about the instruction and only studied interpretation of what that means.
The real instruction.
Remember, the Mishnah and the Talmudic writings are there to help you stay righteous, and many of Yeshua's sayings actually draws from Mishnaic writings. Okay? If you study the Mishnah and you go and you look at these things, I mean, the Sermon on the Mount, there's an actual book out, I'll get hold of the title for you, where a Christian guy went up and he studied this with a rabbi and he's going, that's in the Talmud, that's in the Talmud, that's in the Talmud. He was quoting what they already knew. The writing was there. It wasn't that he was now removing the entire fence. It was he's saying, look, focus on what God said. Get your hearts right and stop focusing just on the instruction. There is value in looking at the Mishnah and looking at the Talmudic writings. The problem is when you study the Mishnah and it becomes your God's authority, then we have a problem. Remember, in Hebrew we have an issue. Torah means instruction, right? Teaching. So Torah is Talmud. Torah is Mishnaic writings. Torah is anything of instruction. And we have Torah, which is Bible. When I use the reference, I use it strictly in accordance with the first 5 books. But when you say Torah to anybody in a Hebraic sense, they're thinking, which one are you talking about? The sad problem is, they know more about the Mishnah and the Talmud than they know more about the Torah. They have not studied it hard enough because they rely, just as church fathers and churches do today, they rely more on the rabbi who tells me the correct interpretation of what this is supposed to mean instead of looking at the word and going to God and saying, what does this mean?
Yeshua is actually using what he understood. The same way that he spoke to people to say this is what the fig tree means, you know, if it's got no fruits on it, but it's got the leaves. So I think he was using that for the group of people that he was speaking to, so that they would understand that, like how God spoke to Abraham about the stars, because he used to look at the stars. So I think it's the same reference. He meets you from what you know, and then you try to store you back to God's original instruction through that.
There is benefit after benefit to give us understanding, especially practice and culture of the time when you pick up a Mishnah. Okay, Talmud and Mishnah, I'm talking about volumes and volumes of books, guys. You're like 27 volumes, encyclopedia-sized books that these guys are doing. For instance, let's use Shabbat for example. Okay, God says, do no work on Shabbat. And it goes back, it was written down in Bereshit, right, in Genesis. Okay? Now, what was God resting from? Yes, resting from his phone. He was resting from creating. Okay, from creation. Okay? So what happens is we take up creation and we break it down. The word create has lots of different connotations. So what God is actually saying is that we need to rest from creation. So how is any creating being done in our lives? And there's like, I think there's something silly, like 50 different words that link up to this whole thing in Hebrew. And then they go and they look at each one of those things, and then they develop ideas for each one of those words to come back down to the one instruction in creation. That's how deep they go. Alright? And then they go, okay, this is what we need to do. We need to rest from all of this.
So are they basically saying, for our creation, it's my job, switching on a light, whatever, and then they list all the things that they do.
You are creating work for yourself by doing this. Okay, there's so many different things. It blows my mind. But they have studied this so stringently, just to get to the point where, oh dear God, please let me not break your Shabbat. It's beautiful and confused at the same time.
Yeah.
You just want to be like, it's not about that.
Yeah.
But
their heart is trying to see what is creation, what does God mean.
Now add a legal mind. Think about your lawyers of today. Define the word create. Okay, now this we can put into different pockets, and this thing can be able to look at it. But when you say do not, what does that do? Are you talking about this or are you talking about that? To the point where in biblical times you sit down and it says, you know, it says, don't till the soil on Shabbat. So if you spit on a stone, you're okay, but if you spit on the soil, then you're tilling the soil. Because it landed on a stone, it's okay? Come on, you missed the whole point. Okay, this is how bad it got. This is why the Pharisees and the Sadducees, who used to sit in the Sanhedrin, you have 70 people, and have any of you ever seen a rabbinic style debate? Okay, it looks more like an argument. That's, you know, we sit down and we're like, why are those two guys shouting at each other? You know, there was like a funny little cartoon, and they like subscribed to this funny little Jewish cartoons, and you have these two rabbi-looking oaks, and they're both standing there like a full karate stance. And then they go, it's the ancient art of argument. And they go back and forth. Okay, with the proverb, iron sharpens iron. Oh boy, they're sweet. Okay? And remember, in Yeshua's time, to give you an understanding and lay foundation here as well with the Sermon on the Mount, is that if you did something, if you misinterpreted a verse, okay? You misinterpreted Shabbat, we would argue, we would say, listen, you guys really don't understand. It's about the heart, it's about Holy Congregation, it's about their rest. If they agree with you, they would say, you are establishing or fulfilling the mitzvah. It means to uphold. So when he says, I did not come to abolish, I came to fulfill. That word, fulfill, establish, is what they would use. You are establishing God's word correctly. But if I walked in there and I said, but it's not nothing to do about that, it's about not tearing toilet paper, it's about not switching on the light, and it's about brushing your teeth with your finger. I would go to him and I would say, you are abolishing the Torah. As in saying, you are misinterpreting the Torah. You are not establishing God's instructions, but you are tearing it down. You are missing the point. When he says, I did not come to abolish, I came to fulfill, he came to correctly put in place. And for me, what Yeshua does is he just readjusts the heart. Listen to what he says here. Okay, this is important because if we do not get the heart of God here, I mean, you've seen it now in Exodus 19 and 20, where God talks about your peculiar treasure, my beautiful, you are my beloved, I brought you unto myself. And then we go into a section where it talks about manslaughter, stealing, kidnapping, animals that misbehave, and you're just kind of like, but where the heck did the love and fluffy bunnies go? All of that beautiful marriage imagery sort of dissipates in Mishpatim. We need to understand it's all one solid grouping, right? And that's why I brought you back to another mountain where he brings the right idea again. Okay? Remember, it's a ketubah, it's about love. Seeing the crowds, Yeshua walked up the hill. After he sat down, his Talmidim came to him and began to speak. And this is what he taught them. And it's a beautiful place. When you go to the Mount of Beatitudes, and once it's on a hill and you have this lovely church and you see the Sea of Galilee off in the distance, it's a really, really pretty place. Yes, there we go. Ta-da! Okay, that's there it is. Okay? In the background. It's only been standing for you. Boss it around. Okay? It's a beautiful setting. Okay, I disagree with what goes on in the church, but that's just me. But at the back of it, you have this hill drop. You kind of go there, and it's funny, you drive around the bird and they say, the big entrance to the church. No, we're not going there first. Then you go around this back and it's kind of like a rubbish dump and you park next to a skip. And then you sit down and you take them to the end and people are like, what are we doing here? And you can see the slope, and what happens is that the actual surroundings make an amphitheater type of scenario. Okay? So he would be able to sit down at the bottom of the hill. I'm sure I've explained this before, but anyway. And it does this. The church is sitting on top of the hill here. But what I believe happened was, this thing is like completely surrounded this way, so that he would be able to sit down over here and talk like this. And the wind just naturally carries every sound from the bottom of the mountain up. You're driving and you see a car, and it's like this big, and you can hear it. You keep quiet and you hear this. I don't even know what car it is, but I can hear him changing gears. It's ridiculous. But it's a perfect place. So he sits over there and he's got this whole setting around him. Okay? So, and he says, how blessed are the poor in spirit, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs. Okay, the word blessed there is asher. That means blessed, fortunate, and happy. Okay, it's just like, oh, you're blessed. Okay, it becomes airy fairy in me. How blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. How blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. How blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. How blessed are those who show mercy, for they will be shown mercy. Forgiveness. How blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. How blessed are those who make peace, for they will be called sons of God. How blessed are those who are persecuted, because they pursue righteousness, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs. And that's where the Sermon on the Mount ends. No, it does not. It carries on. How blessed are when the people insult you or persecute you and tell you all kinds of vicious lies about you because you follow me. This is a hard thing to swallow. Lord, why are they so mean? Why can't they understand? What's going on? Listen to what he says. Rejoice, be glad, because your reward in heaven is great. They persecuted the prophets before you in the same way. Don't expect everybody to pat you on the back because you decide to be a follower of Christ. Expect, some people are going to be like, whoa, I didn't know that. That's very exciting. And other people are going to be like, you're a complete schmook. How can you believe that? You've obviously lost your mind. But it's so clear to me, Lord. How do they not see this? It's right there in their faces. And yet they choose not. Darkness will not enjoy light. You are salt for the land. But if salt becomes tasteless, how can it be made salty again? Remember, it was used for purification. It was used for to preserve something, as well as it talks about loyalty, salt. It is no longer good for anything except being thrown away. If you've forgotten your purpose, there is no point. Talmidim, you are being trained up to make Talmidim. This is not about you, it's about the people who are coming after you. You are a light for the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Likewise, when people light a lamp, they do not cover it with a bulb, but put it on a lampstand, so that it shines for everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before people, so that they may see the good things you do. Action word. Don't tell me that you're doing something, I want to see it. And praise your Father in heaven. Notice it did not say what you say. If you truly believe, then you will truly act. Go read the book of James. Okay? If you believe God is God, you will act like God is God. If you believe He's coming back and He's going to talk to you and goes, hey, what did you do? You will move your butt. Because He's going to need answers. Don't think that I've come to abolish the Torah or the prophets. I have not come to abolish, but to complete, fulfill, establish Torah. Yes, indeed, I tell you that until heaven and earth pass away, not so much as a yud or a stroke, a jot or a tittle, the smallest of the Hebrew letters. See something amazing. A yud. If I nullify the yud, what is that the first letter of that really is awesome and powerful?
God's name.
Yud, He, Vav, He. God's name. Not one letter. When you nullify Torah, you're nullifying God. Because you're taking away.
There's one part where it says he puts a word about his name.
Establish Torah, you establish He is God. Not one yud will fall away. You're talking to a guy whose name is Yeshua. Salvation. God establishes. God will bring about.
Sorry. Interesting thing here. Okay. Okay, we know that most people think that the New Testament is written in Greek. Do they have yuds and dots and
No, not a yud. A yud is a Hebrew letter. Remember, the scholars will argue that that New Testament specifically, I mean, also the Septuagint is an Old Testament Greek translation. Remember, we had, after the dispersion, you had massive Jewish Greek communities, etc., etc., all right? And they wrote it because they grew up being Greek, so they translated from the Hebrew to Greek to reach the mass Jewish population. So they would read Torah in Greek because they could understand it. All right?
Just like us in English.
Exactly. All right? But you need to understand that the Hebraic roots and everything was still there. Okay? So they said that you'll have scholars that will argue that the New Testament was only Greek. All right? And you have other scholars who have translated it back to Hebrew. Something as simple as this, as Regan correctly points out. You don't have a yud in Greek. You would have a Y variant, I would imagine. But it's not called a yud. A yud is a specific Jewish thing. It's the same as the Hebrew idioms stand out ridiculously. Okay, you've heard of Yeshua said, you tell that sly fox, or you tell that fox. Sorry, yeah, you tell that fox. He was talking about Herod. And we think, oh, that's because he's cunning and sneaky. In Hebrew means, you tell that nincompoop. Okay? That idiom is there to give you an understanding. Like when he talks about the kingdom of heaven. Okay? Malchut Shemaim, the Hebrew, is of the sky, which is literally an idiom for the kingdom of God. But because I don't use God, because I don't want to take His name in vain, I use heaven instead. Or this is written by the finger of God is an Hebrew idiom to stating that instead of saying it was the Holy Spirit because it's God and I don't want to use His name in vain, I will say it was written by the finger of God. Okay? You see how these things sort of thing. You don't have that. So they have to translate that into the Greek, from that into the Latin, then into the English. So we start to understand where people get a little bit confused. Or we not so confused. I call this it's the iceberg principle. Okay? What you see, let's use the Beatitudes, one of them. What we see traditionally in the big glass of water is we go, oh, wow, God is deep. And we miss all of this. It was the same word of Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. People like saying the name Jesus. Okay. What does it mean? No idea. But if you call it Yeshua, every time it says, oh Lord, when Moses declares, Moses, oh Lord, how I long to see your Yeshua. All of a sudden he's calling out for the Messiah thousands and thousands of years before he even arrives. When David cries out for his Yeshua, you start to understand, oh man, this goes deep. We need to learn that everything has layers, and we need to scratch deeper to understand the fullness of it. Okay, you guys have heard it said, there's four different, the rabbis teach there's four different levels. Okay? You have the plain sense, you have the study sense, you have the mystical sense, the Peshat, the Midrash, the Sud, and a remit, a hint alluding to a portion. Okay? And we just read the first part in the plain sense. Maybe add a little bit of spiritual.
I've been extrapolating that God's works in over 40 dimensions.
It's ridiculous. I mean, this is why guys study Torah their entire lives and they still, we don't know what he's really talking about here. Like, but you've been doing this for 30 years. Yeah, but we still don't understand what he's saying.
Yeah.
Case in point, this guy who wrote this whole commentary, this guy teaches, he's fluent in biblical Hebrew and all the rest of it, and then I was reading the commentary and the one thing he was like, we still don't know what this means. Okay? We'll just carry on.
I think that also with that, like, God also teaches you while you're reading it, because there's stuff that you need now, and then later when you read it, there's more stuff that you need later on.
It's a living word.
Different senses.
Yeah, it's a living word. There's different levels at different times that he opens up your eyes to be able to see, because it needs to reach you there. It's beautiful.
First, I want to ask this quick question. You know, people would say that Yeshua, Jesus came to abolish or to do away with the law, but now here it says here, or in the New Testament, it plain says, do not think I came to destroy the law or the prophets. I didn't come to destroy, but I came to fulfill. So how do they even argue that then?
Because
it's a misinterpretation of the word fulfill. Okay, what happens is we have a contract, right? I will give you, I'm going to swap you. I'm going to give you a board duster for that phone. Okay? And you go, okay. And then I give you a board duster and I take your phone, and thus the contract has been fulfilled. That is not the type of contract that we're talking about. The type of contract that he's talking about is he's talking about wedding vows. Just when you get up, you go, I promise, I'll do everything. I love you. Please marry me. Please, 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 please. And then you get up there and you sit there and you're like all proud and you put the ring on the finger and you go, I do. You don't push your wife over and then go get another one. Like, the contract has been fulfilled. I said what I did.
This is a classic example of taking things out of the context. The very verse next to it makes it clear that it is exactly as it says.
It's going to come down. We're going to carry on with this. The contract idea is just because you said I do and you swap some rings doesn't mean that your marriage now becomes null and void. The point is you become part of that so that you can now fulfill your obligation. You can become a loving husband just like you promised her before she said I do. And she can fulfill the obligation of being a loving bride because she said she will. The contract is not fulfilled. This is now really kicking gears and now you're going to walk it out. That's the type of contract we're talking about. Okay?
Is it established?
Yes, established, to uphold. Okay? By me upholding my covenant relationship with my wife, I will not run around just sleeping around with other women. Okay? But because I love her, I promised myself to her, and me establishing that every day is me upholding that contract. Yeah? Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So they get hung up on the word fulfilled and they forget about whatever he's saying, unfortunately. Right. But listen to what he carries on to say. So whoever disobeys, wait, let me see. Not one yud or stroke will pass from Torah. Not until everything must happen has happened. Alright, there's a story here. We're so never going to get anywhere today, but deal with it. Okay? There's a story here, what Solomon did. Rabbinic idea. I need to go and do some research in this, but I'll share the idea with you. Is that he did something very clever. When it says you will not take many wives, he changed one letter of the word. He nullified one letter. And he changed the meaning to you will not have many wives to you will have many wives. Okay? Now, these are rabbis that have said this, so I'm taking their word for it. I think do some research and have a look. So he nullifies one letter and he turns the entire instruction against itself, so that he can do what he wants to do. Alright? So the story goes like this. He takes away the yud and then he runs up, the yud runs up to heaven and he bounces up there before God and he's like, oh, my yud, why are you so sad? And, he's like, oh, no, King Solomon, he just wiped me off for that whole thing. And then he goes, let me tell you, not the least pen stroke, not a yud, will fall away until everything I have said will be established. Yeshua, apparently this little story was around in Yeshua's time and he was drawing from that very same story that I understand. A little kiddie story to give them a point. You cannot nullify one letter because it reverses everything. And if we reverse it, we take God out of it. We take the yud out of it. And then it's not God's instruction anymore, it's just instructions. So you don't have to honor this as a loving bride. Now you just kind of do whatever you want.
It's actually terrible because the temptation again, like with the Eve, surely you will not die, and God said she will die if she ate from the fruit.
Yeah, the sad thing is we are so quickly to nullify. There was another story, full of stories today. There was a guy who was teaching on, forget that channel. He was doing this thing. He walks up there and he's a rabbinic guy, Messianic. Comes up and he opens up his Bible and he's like sitting there and he's like, yada, 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 and he takes out a thing and he tears up a page and he crumbles it and he throws it away. And the first thing that jumped into my head was, heathen, what are you doing to that Bible? And he's like, but you guys do it all the time. It's like, what? What are you talking about? He says, don't misunderstand me. I love my God. I love His instruction. But what you do is you say, I will follow this one and I'll throw this one away. I'll follow this one and I'll throw this one away. That one, no, I don't like that one, so I'll do this one instead. You're tearing pages out of Scripture because you say that you don't want any part of it. Possibly. I tell you what, I'm pretty sure, I mean this was on TV, but in my house you could have heard a pin drop. And I was following Torah. I'm like, I've never ever looked at it that way. But you are literally nullifying God's name. Because this is His instruction. And if you take the essence of His instruction, remember, He's giving you this mitzvah, He's giving you these instructions to reveal who He is to you. So if you take away that instruction, you take away the revelation. You nullify God because you want to be your God. Yeah, not one yud will fall away. Why didn't he say one tzadi? One samek? Because that's not in God's name at all. He uses the very start. Sorry,
but the yud is in His name.
Yeah, exactly. So you would nullify Him. You know, we don't see this. I said this on
They'll say no, it's not a yud, it's a jot or title because it's not.
A jot or it says the least or of the pen stroke. That is the least of the pen stroke. Okay? I checked this on Wednesday. Okay? In our Bibles, you know, we have this whole thing about name changes. Okay? We don't see it in English. Joshua. Joshua is Joshua, right? In the Hebrew, he was actually Joshua. And when God picked him up and said, now you will be the leader of my people, but don't worry, be bold and courageous, I am with you, He added one letter. God's very name onto His name, so it won't be saves, God saves. But I'm going to use you. Joshua is Joshua. No, it wasn't. It was Joshua, and then he became Yehoshua, because God is going to work through you. you nullify everything that God is. You take away His letter in your life because He's no longer your God. You are your God.
Please explain to me then how the grace works in that sense, because then the next argument you get is, oh, but you got grace, you don't have to worry.
What is grace?
Unmerited favor.
Unmerited favor. It means you did nothing to deserve it. Okay? You were naughty. What did they say? I see you walking in the street and I walk up to you and I go, hi, my name's Vince. Here's